Now, we certainly hope you're enjoying the festive season. It is another episode of the Monaghan Way. With us here, myself, Sean McCaffrey. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the Rossie podcast on our Shannonside end of things by Darragh O'Connor. Obviously, we're looking forward to the big game coming up now at the start of January in the All-Ireland Senior Club semi-final. St. Brigid of Roscommon taking on Scotstown of Monaghan. And also, Kieran Kearns has joined us here as well. And I suppose first things first, lads, hopefully it's been a good festive season. Darragh, I was just thinking to myself, we were able to sit down and enjoy the turkey maybe and a beer or two and relax for the two panels involved in this All-Ireland Club semi-final. There'd be the enjoyment and the success of having won your provincial, but there'd be a focusing on All-Ireland semi-final. I'd imagine the turkey was well trimmed back this year.
I know. I say all these players are well looked after now, and they're all minding their body. So it wouldn't be as wild at Christmas as a lot of other people. I'm sure they'll enjoy the day or so, but it's full focus on this All Ireland semi final now. And it's a good excuse. Look, if you're going to have more of a quieter Christmas and maybe a few training sessions, you want to be preparing for an All Ireland semi final. So I don't think the players will have too many complaints. It's something to look forward to. I know it's slightly new for Scotstown to be in the All Ireland semi final. Bridges have a slight bit of experience, even though not a whole pile. Like this group of players, really, apart from maybe one or two when they won the All Ireland in 2013. They only have one experience of this type of campaign, so they're still new to us as well. They're not seasoned pros, so it's something to look forward to for both these camps.
It certainly is. And Kieran, I could see you nodding your head in agreement there, just in regards to the summary that Darragh was giving us. I don't think the players would be too annoyed with pushing back the second offering of the sherry trifle or not going for the second turkey sandwich on St. Stephen's Day. If you're preparing for an All Ireland semi final, that trumps anything at Christmas, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Sean. And I suppose from Scotstown, I know that there's wild celebrations over there. So they had to celebrate the Ulster title win for a good 2 weeks, I'd say, and well deserved, and they were well entitled to do that. And absolutely, the training ground would have been quite an intense area, I would say, over the last number of weeks. And whilst it is bonus territory for Scotstown, it's a bonus territory that they will embrace and will look forward to, because they feel that they'll be able to take a scalp here as well. They're going very well. They're battle hardened. Their resilience is built up. And this will be a cracker of a game. Obviously, St. Brigid's have been there before in 2023. They have that experience. The shackles are off Scotstown now, I suppose. They've got that Ulster, that Ulster win over them that has evaded them for the last 10 or 12 years. And that's why I call it bonus territory from a Scotstown perspective, because they've got that hoodoo, if you want to call it, off their shoulder. So I expect plenty of fireworks from Scotstown and obviously St. Brigid's. And it's an intriguing game. It's a hard one to call, Sean, but I suppose we'll get into that one as we progress with this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting, Kieran, back before Christmas, 13th of December, if memory served me well now, down in the athletic grounds. And we've been privileged and honoured to be at a lot of big occasions from a sporting perspective, particularly from Gaelic football. But I think it was probably one of the most emotional afternoons and evenings I ever seen on a football field when that final whistle went. And even afterwards, when afforded the opportunity to talk to the players, normally players and management, they're cagey, they're guarded in what they say. Some of the interviews that come out from that, they were just compelling to listen to. You just knew this was an awful weight off the shoulders of Scotstown as a club, as a panel of players, and as a management.
Absolutely, Sean, and that is the case. Like, it has weighed them down for so long. Like this, they've got so close and so many times. Three Ulster finals, and narrowly be beaten in them all. There was a thought in their heads, I suppose, will this day ever come? When something that you've been reaching for and has been unattainable and it has been a dream suddenly is a reality. It's a feeling that you'll never forget. And I suppose from a different perspective, I was fortunate enough to experience something like that when first time the small club Curran that I'm involved with got up to senior. Like, it was just this dream world thing that you never thought would be possible. And I have no doubt that them boys felt the same way. And of course, they're living with them players. A number of them players have fathers that were very successful in the 80s, and they've been listening to them boys probably harp on a bit for the last 10 years too, and to have that way down eventually just to say, yeah, we've done it now and we've got over the line. And I don't know if it was Rory begging, I think it was Rory actually said maybe we can go one step further than them lads did, and I wouldn't bet against them.
No, absolutely. And that is the talk and where the talk is turning to. And you mentioned Rory then, the beautiful symmetry. His father was man of the match in 1989 when they beat Cull Island, and he turned around and added that accolade then by his own performance. And then he just, with that number one, and I'll get the thoughts of Darragh in a moment or two about St. Brigid's, but Rory Beggan, he's the man of the moment, both at county and club level. That performance he put in that night against the Gale Force win both with it and against it, 11 points. It's just incredible.
He's an incredible person, first of all, Sean, but an outstanding footballer, and arguably in the best goalkeeper ever to play the game. I would go as far as to say he's the greatest ever to play the game, not for what he brings off the tee from kicking the ball out, his scoring ratio. He's the top scorer in Scotstown. But his save, like he saved Scotstown, there was a point blank save. He saved almost certain goal as well. So on his leadership, he comes off the line, comes out around the middle third there, and he's a big imposing figure around the midfield too. It's just his all round game. But his free kick and the new 2-point the new 2-point rule has really suited Scotstown, and Monaghan, of course, with having that weapon or asset with Rory Beggan at their disposal, and his score ratio at the minute's about 88%. It's just through the roof. And any free kick in around 70 yards now, with any sort of conditions with Rory with the wind at his back, you could almost certainly say that it's a 2-pointer. That's that's how important he is in today's modern game. But for me, and I don't say this I don't say this sort of because I'm a Monaghan man. I say this generally with respect, that he's the greatest goalkeeper that I have ever seen play the game.
Yeah, and again, I could note, Darragh, you were nodding there, just thinking Rory broke the hearts of Roscommon in a Division 2 league final in Croke Park last year.
It was more than him by the end, I think, of that score.
It was, but he was that ability to step up. So Roscommon people are well aware of Rory. St. Brigid's are going to be well aware of what Rory brings to the game as well. And I know we focused there on Monaghan. Tell us a little bit, maybe those of us that's not familiar with St. Brigid's. Where are they based, actually? St. Brigid's, where would you find them?
Yeah, so they'd be South Roscommon area. So they'd be 5 or 10 minutes outside Athlone. So they have a big enough catchment area there. They're actually kind of the three big clubs, we'll say, in Roscommon are all down there. You have St. Brigid's, you have Clonagale, and you have Porrick Pierce's then towards Ballinasloe. So kind of the three big teams there, and the big teams over the last 10 years are all down there. And, Brigid's and Pierce's, will say, had a titanic tussle to get the Roscommon Championship this year. Like Pierce's took them to a replay, could have had a 2-point free to actually knock out Brigid's in that first game, a last kick of the game. So I think it probably shows the standard of Roscommon club football. And I was saying to you, Sean, off air, that I'm just looking here, 2017 was the last time our team in Roscommon retained the county title. That was St. Brigid's. So this St. Brigid's team, who got to All Ireland finals and have won Connacht titles, they actually haven't, this crop of players haven't actually retained a county title. Like Pierce has won it last year. So it kind of shows the strength and depth of Roscommon. And I think Brigid's, those Pierce's games will do them the world of good. And it did do them the world of good going into Connacht, because they were kind of maybe not sleepwalking through Roscommon. They hadn't really a test. So to get those two games, then they beat Ballinav, Mayo very comfortably in the Connacht semi-final. They go into the Moycullen game, Moycullen at Galway. That was a battle that only Brigid's played well in, but they got over it. They were playing against a wind. They were down with 10 minutes to go, and they managed to find a way. So I think they're just ticking along nicely. And we'll probably touch on how they were in the All-Ireland final against Glen a couple of years ago. Trust me, that one stung them, and they should have won the All-Ireland that day. They had Glen where they wanted them. I think they were 4 or 5 points up with a few minutes to go. An unfortunate goal goes in, and then Glen, in fairness, took full advantage of that. I think Conor Glass had a big part to play in that. So they'll have that hurt from a couple of years ago to drive them on. Whether it'll count for anything, that bit of experience that they have been in an All-Ireland semi-final, time will tell. But it's pretty much it's a 50-50 game. I was looking at the odds. Bridges are slight favourites, but I would say it's as close to 50-50 as you'll get.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
just
touched on the,
Sean,
yeah.
sorry, we come in. Yeah, just on the odds thing there. It's interesting. I didn't look at that before it came on, but Kilcoo were slight favourites against Scotstown last day out, and Scotstown will pay no heeds to odds. And you talk, I suppose, a wee bit about the experience, and I doubt there's a more experienced team in terms of intercounty. I know there's plenty of intercounty experience, obviously, in the Roscommon outfit, but Scotstown are just blessed with experience from the two Hugheses, Ryan O'Toole, Darren, Jack McMurran, and even the lads that have come in there. They've stepped up, and it's been the first season. They're highly experienced young men who coming through Monaghan minor division, through the county football. All of them have represented their county at minor and under 20 level. So there's a lot of experience there already from them young boys. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I suppose from my perspective too, I felt that this would be a 50-50 game. And I think now, because the shackles are off Scotstown, that they'll be a wee bit more aggressive in their forward play, and that might suit, because an Ulster game is a running game. They're going to be going in now against the Brigid, who are predominantly a kicking game. It's a different game overnight for them, and it'll suit Scotstown. Although they had to face Newbridge, who are a running team, and Kilcoo are a running team, they've withstood them storms, and now this open sort of game that St. Brigid's play would suit Scotstown as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know both teams over the festive season, particularly management, would have been sitting down and looking at each other. And Darragh, it's interesting there what Kieran noted about Scotstown and how familiar we are with them and how they set up on that. Would you envisage St. Brigid's maybe trying to change their game plan? That can be a dangerous game to play. If something is successful for you, the last thing you want to be doing is to go in and try and change it.
Yeah, I don't really see it too much. And do you know what? This is kind of unique. And Kieran says the amount of Monaghan players that are on the Scotstown team, and you're looking at it, and maybe they have the few more experienced players, the likes of the Hugheses and Rory Beggan have been around, just for instance, for years. But like, say, Bridges, for instance, from the Roscommon side, Bridges would actually have a county player on every line of the pitch. They have the Conor Carroll in goal. You have Robbie Dolan. I'm just looking at from the team that played the last day. The half back line could arguably be the half back line for Roscommon: Rory Fallon, Brian Stack, and Paul McGrath, who's the captain, actually hasn't even committed to county yet. He's probably a county standard. They have the county midfield in Shane Canan and Eddie Nolan, and then you have Conor Hand, you have Ben O'Carroll, and 40-year-old Senan Kilbride, who's made this this renaissance back this year. He hadn't even played football for the last 5 years. He played for their C team in the championship. He didn't even play for the B team and came in then for the senior panel. So it's like that bit of blend that they have up front. So I'd say in terms of county representation now, this would have to be in terms of I'd say the highest level, because I know how many Monaghan players Scots have, but Bridget would definitely have, I'd say, 8 or 9 panel members. So it's kind of a half Monaghan, half Roscommon team that we'll be seeing this game.
Yeah.
How
Interestingly, that the Monaghan midfield pair too is also the Scotstown midfield pair. So that's going to be a big battle there. So it is.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting aspect of this, and there's a good way of describing it. It's nearly a half of Roscommon taking on a half of Monaghan here, and there's been some battles between Roscommon and Monaghan in recent years through the league and that as well, Darragh. But how telling could it be that we know Scotstown got that closer run up to Christmas, the Ulster final being put back by a week, owing to the game being cancelled in Healy Park and all that, and then coming off the back of that, keeping that momentum. It's been quite a while from that Connacht final, if memory serves me well. I'm trying to think back on the weeks for beating my Cullen. Now, naturally enough, yes, St. Brigid's are going to be on the training field. They're going to be working. I take it they had representatives in the athletic grounds before Christmas to take in that game then as well. So maybe that's a card that they have in hand then too.
Yeah, like I suppose the emotion of the Scotstown, it'll be just again interesting. Bridges, I think it was the end of November when Bridges kind of final. So look, naturally enough, you'll take the week, you'll enjoy it. Iconic title is a massive thing. You get back to work, so that they probably have maybe 4 weeks of preparation. Whereas Scotstown, I suppose, you win it, the emotion, the week or so just to come down, recovery and all that. They may only have maybe 2 weeks or so. I'm just going off the top of my head there. So there's pros and cons to it. Scotstown might like the quicker turnaround. Now, still not that quick, still 3 or 4 weeks. It's not like it's a 2 week turnaround, but they might prefer that. Bridges might prefer, we've had a tough county championship. We played a Connacht championship in November, just to take a couple of weeks, relax, and then we'll go at it for 3 weeks again. So it's kind of hard to know who's actually better placed, because, as you say there, the abandonment of that game, the Scotstown Newbridge game, kind of threw it all up in the air in terms of scheduling and that. So it'll be kind of hard to know what schedule you'd rather, the bit of the longer time off, bit more training, or the quicker turner. You're not waiting as long for the match. Scotstown can enjoy it, and then bang, 2 weeks, and we're out again.
I suppose the thing, Kieran, is Scotstown, and I know David McCaig, Donald Morgan, that management team won't allow this to happen. They'll not get caught up in the emotion. As you said, they enjoyed their couple of weeks. The celebrations were just something else. That'll have been parked, I would have thought, maybe at the first or second training sessions back before Christmas. I don't even know if they'd have taken a break over Christmas week or not. Knowing them guys, they'd be in gym, they'd been on a training feed, maybe even Christmas Day. That would be the focus that they would have now. It'd be back to work. It'd be workman-like. You've noted it, that there's just an abandonment now to what they can do for the remainder of this competition.
There's no doubt about it. They'll have enjoyed that. We spoke about the enjoyment they had and thoroughly deserved. But back to business straight away. They'd have been back, Sean, I'd say probably the 19th, Friday 19th. They'll probably give them that week or two off and let them enjoy the celebrations. And then a late run out on the 19th of December. And then just tunnel vision after that. Complete tunnel vision on some Brigids. And, they'll obviously do their analysis on them, and, they'll identify where they're strong and weak, and where they can expose them in their weakness, if they have a weakness. But it's a serious opportunity for both clubs, and Scotstown will know that. And so, of course, some Bridges will too. And that's why it's such a 50-50 game. I know they played each other in a challenge match at the start of this year. I think it was a herd as well. And so they will have a wee bit of understanding of each other. But yeah, Scotstown, tunnel vision now, complete another focus on some Bridgets, and they'll be back around Friday the 19th or somewhere around that week, and it had been no let up since then, Sean. And you're right, over Christmas period they'd enjoyed Christmas Day and whatnot, but they'd been straight back to business straight after the turkey was out, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine that's right. I was reading reports just of sort of through the county competition, through the website on Shannonside, Darragh, and then even into the provincial competition. And one, dare we say, a perceived weakness, or maybe something that Mike Cullen in particular tried to exploit, was what appears to be a very small full back line that St. Bridget's have, maybe in comparison to what Scotstown will be bringing with their forward line. Could that be an area to be exploited from Scotstown's perspective?
Yeah, and look, and I think Bridges has said it themselves after games. The amount of goal chances they've given up in some of those games wasn't as bad against Moy Cullen, but they conceded 3 to Ballina, and then those two county finals, like Pearse's, I think they got a goal in each of them, but especially the replay, they could have had 4 or 5. So you're right, it isn't the tallest full back line. It definitely isn't. So I think I don't need to be telling Scotstown what they'll be looking at. That'll be definitely top of their list, is the goal chances that Bridges have given up. I think Bridges, again, they know that themselves, and I think that'll definitely be one of the things they'll be working on in training. How do you work on it? Match practice. When you get on the pitch in a match, it's not the same as training. So how you eradicate that quickly, who knows? But they definitely have to tighten up, and it'll definitely be something Scotstown will be looking at 100%. Whether they pump in a high ball or two in, I don't know. Scotstown that kind of target man? I know Jack McCarron is up there, but is he that type of player? Not really. So, have they that big man under the at the edge of the square to pump a few balls in? Because I think Ballina did get one of those goals. It was a high ball in, and again, the thing in Gaelic football, and it's the ball that no goalkeeper or full back wants, is that high ball in nearly at the edge of the square, and it just causes chaos. And all it takes is for a flick, and suddenly it's in the back of the net. So it'll definitely be something Scotstown will be looking at, and Bridges will be working on over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, Kieran, we know Darren Hughes is one man who's going in there.
Yeah,
Well, Gas with Phillips, Meadows,
yeah,
Seabolt, and McCarville. I'm not trying to
100%.
scat some Bridges here, but
100%. Yeah, yeah. The Scotstown are so dynamic. They did. They might have won the 15 on the program as soon as the game starts. They're the most dynamic team that I've watched all year in terms of positioning, because it takes you about 4 or 5 minutes during comedy to figure out exactly what they're doing and where they're going, and then there's some sort of pattern to what they're doing. So in terms of the full forward line, yeah, the line out with Jack inside, but they definitely will rotate Darren in there. They might throw Kieran in, big Gavin McPhillips, big Mihal McCarville as well. Like, them's all serious target men. But the beauty about this Scotstown team, there's not one outstanding player demolishing teams and inside forward. They get like Darragh Murray for cornerback. He's always good for a couple of goals or a goal or a threat anyway. Rory Beggin, obviously, the last day out in the county final was Max Maguire, hit 9 points, I think. Before that, it was Tommy Mallon that hit 10 points. There's so many threats come from Scotstown that, for me, that just gives them that slight wee bit of edge over St. Bridget's. So it'll be very interesting to see how Bridges cope with that threat.
now we better balance things out. We better give something back to Dara about maybe, I'm not going to say a perceived weakness, but where could St. Bridget's be targeting Scotstown maybe then? What could they look at there? We know Rory does roam out the field. It was interesting. Kilcoo, while they exploited that in the game last year, Scotstown obviously tightened up on that. They weren't going to allow that to happen to them again. Have you seen in all the games Scotstown have played maybe where teams could target or have targeted?
Uh, I'll be honest, I only really seen the Ulster final, the last days. So I would have seen Scotstown over the years, and I think it's what you mentioned there. I mean, the physicality of Scotstown. I think that could be something that Bridges will have to match. I think Mihal McCarville, for instance, maybe an unsung hero. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, especially towards the latter stages of that Ulster final. A real presence round the middle. So I think Bridges, and I think the big thing, and again, Scotstown will probably know this, that Bridges don't go for 2 pointers too often. I think they're maybe, I know Kerry by the end were going for a few 2 pointers. David Clifford shot the lights out, but you remember Kerry towards the start of the year, they were kind of ignoring the 2 pointers. And I think Bridges are one of these teams that'll run it, that'll kick it inside the likes of Ben O'Carroll and sending Kilbride. Now, if there's a strong wind, naturally enough, you're going to go for a few. But they're not fixated on 2 pointers, where we'll say Scotstown and Monaghan, have probably been the 2 point kings with, you have your Rory Beggins, Jack McCarran, Conor McCarthy, Kieran Hughes, Darren Hughes. They're all well able to kick big scores. Bridget's don't look at that. They're looking at getting that ball in quick to Ben and sending Kilbride, and they've Brian Derwin in there. Conor Hand, for instance, the last day kicked 7 points. He really stood up. I think that's the one thing for Bridget's, that maybe all their players haven't caught fire at once. Like Conor Hand probably had a quieter county final, came alive in the Connacht final. I think if they can get him, if they can get Ben O'Carroll, Kieran Sukru, Brian Derwin, and if Senan Kilbride can pop up with the two, I think Bridget's are very dynamic up front. They're probably a different type of team to Scotstown. Scotstown have a lot more physicality. I think Bridget's maybe try and play that pure football, get it in quick to Ben and that. So again, I think that'll be something that Scotstown will be looking at. I don't think they'll be pushing out. You have to push out, but I think they'll be more conscious of that ball going in to the likes of Ben O'Carroll and Senan Kilbride, because they're great ball winners.
Yeah, could that be it, Kieran? Those ball winners inside, and the likes of Darragh Murray, we know what he does getting up the field, done at Connolly, but those guys might be pressed a wee bit more to have to stay back and mind the house.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that'll be an issue for Scotstown, because right through the championship, the Monaghan championship has been very much man on man. Tactically, not so much Scotstown dropping back. They're sort of forced into that position in the Ulster final. If you've watched that Ulster final, you'd probably take away from that the Scotstown were probably more defensive, but they were forced into that position the way Kilcrew played, between the 45 and 65. They wanted to keep the ball. They didn't even want to score by the looks of things. They wanted to run the clock down, get on, especially in the first half. So, but if you look at that full back line, Darragh Murray and Ryan O'Toole, like, possibly the two best man markers definitely in Monaghan, if not Ulster at the minute. So they'd be quite comfortable. And don't forget the presence of Rory Beggan breathing down your neck if you have a full forward and he's coming out. He's such a towering figure, and what Scotstown do is as well. And it's not that we're giving away any secrets or anything, Sean, but the Bridges will have their homework done. Like at all times, you'll have a +1 there, and it'll be either Darren Hughes or Kieran Kearns, a big leader, a big vocal presence in the defensive arc, and they'll always have that +1. But apart from that, it's man on man, and they'll be very comfortable. They'll be very comfortable, Scotstown, because they've been up against it, especially in the last 3 games. The county final went to replay. The game against Newbridge went to replay, and the Ulster, or not a replay, sorry, extra time, both games, and then the Ulster final as well, extra time. They're very comfortable. They've come through the middle there, so they'll be absolutely, no doubt, be ready for this game as well.
And Kieran, maybe what St. Bridges can take from those 3 games was how comfortable Scotstown were on the scoreboard at the county final against Newbridge and against Kilcoo. Now, I know the weather was a big factor in those 2 Ulster games, in fairness, and listen, 10 points isn't enough really on a scoreboard nowadays. But it's not that Scotstown switch off, but they certainly can be reeled in. Now, I know they have the experience to get themselves over the line, but that's a morsel that St. Bridges can take, that no matter how maybe big the gap gets, there's still opportunities. And it's probably a little bit of indiscipline in the Ulster final against Kilcoo. There was a 5-minute period where they coughed up 4 soft scores that brought Kilcoo back into it towards the end of normal time.
Yeah, and similar again, Newbridge as well, Sean, you rightly identified. And that is something that definitely Scotstown will be looking at. How did they let a lead to that extent slip again, Newbridge? And again, like, I mean this in the greatest respect, they were comfortable in the last few minutes with Kilcoo, 3 points up really, and it was enough in my head to see them over the line, because it was such a titanic battle throughout the game. A 3-point lead was massive coming into the close stage, and you're right to give it up, and that is something that Scotstown will be looking at internally to see why that is the case. It's certainly not a match fitness thing, because we know they pushed on in extra time and got over the line in 3 games. Is it a concentration thing? And don't forget, there's so much on the line that naturally, by sit back when you're defending the lead, you'll sit back naturally and you'll invite teams onto you because there's so much there to win. But also, I mean, this is the pinnacle of club football. You're playing the best opposition. They're always going to be a threat, so you have to take the opposition into consideration as well. But there's no doubt Scotstown will be looking at that.
They will indeed. Darragh, it's interesting, and you said it yourself, it's like Roscommon taking on Monaghan here. When you see the number of panel players, county players that's involved, this competition sort of moving from one year into the next. You're winning your county and provincial one year, you're into an All-Ireland series the next year. I'm mindful pre-season tournaments starting up. There's county managers out there now looking to try and get panels together ahead of the league and stuff like that. There has to be some movement, I would have thought, in the calendar. Now, they have pulled it back from March 17th. They've got it to January. One would think there has to be another step taken now to try and pull it back to complete this competition in the 1 year, is there?
It's very hard. And I'm not supporting the GA. It is very hard when you look at the schedule and how tight it is. Like the All Ireland's finished at the end of July, and there's even talk to go the other way, Sean, nearly push the All Irelands back into August, and that pushes, a small bit there. So there, in fairness, there is not a whole pile of room. Like, would I mean, no, maybe players would prefer it before to have it out the way before Christmas. I'm not sure. Again, we know, like, pitches, for instance, great example was the Scotstown Newbridge game. Pitches are a problem at this time of year. Getting availability of good pitches that are going to hold up to play, senior club. But you always have your intermediate championships and junior championships as well. And there's obviously the ladies code in terms of ladies football, hurling, camogie. So they all have to be accommodated. So it is very difficult, and there's no, I don't know is there a right answer to it, but the calendar, we love, thinking about the calendar, the GA and rules and everything. Maybe we always look for the the negative at times. But I don't personally mind the way the club is at the moment. I think another issue is, we'll say, the Sigerson Cup now is coming into play in January, and that's then putting a lot of effort on, I mean, some of the club players that are still there will be playing with Sigerson, and then you have the county as well, so they'll have 3 competitions. So it's kind of madness to think, and that's a lot to be asking of young fellas. So there's no right or wrong answer, I think, to sort the calendar. I think there's just so many games that, I don't know how you fit them all into one calendar year, we'll say.
Yeah, Kieran, I suppose the thing is, these guys and any of them that are county players or would be considered for panels maybe going into the new year, that's nothing. They're not even focused on that. They're focused on Kingspan Breffni, 3 p.m. the 4th of January. That's the only focus they have. But whatever happens on that day, win or lose, win, you're out for another 2 weeks. Lose, your focus probably does turn back. Some of the players won't get a break. Some of them players are going there a full 12 months then as well. And we talk about this player burnout on that. And Darragh's noted maybe it's difficult to try condense and move the calendar. But yet we talked about St. Brigid's going 4 weeks there, maybe 5 weeks of a break. We know the Scotstown game again, Ulster was pushed due to that field not being available or unplayable after half time. Is there wiggle room? Is there enough space in the calendar to try and pull this back into one calendar year?
No, I don't think so. Not at the minute, Sean. Not the way it's condensed at the minute. I don't think there is. But like unless you restructure the whole championship in terms of, maybe I don't know how you do away without a quarter final or something that's in the semi-finals or so, the whole thing has to be restructured and condensed. And instead of just condensing the time, the structures would need to be condensed, in my opinion. But in terms of you talk about yeah, they'll be focusing in straight away, Sean. Like if you look at the McCarys, like they missed their own sister's wedding. Like they won't care about calendars or about how long they have to wait or how quick the turnaround is. If they beat St. Brigid's and likewise St. Brigid's beat Scotstown, like they only be caring about winning All Irelands, and that's the level of commitment that these lads endure year on year just to try and get to the top of that pinnacle in the ladder. So yeah, I don't think any of these players will be worried about it, Sean.
And you've been in a coaching role, a management role, even at intercounty level with the Monaghan ladies, Kieran. Would you've had to dealt with that pulling of players at a time? I know it's maybe slightly different
Yeah,
with the ladies, in fairness, but
yeah.
I think there's a lot of negotiation just have to go on among an awful lot of parties at times, does there?
Yeah, well, listen, I probably was a wee bit strict in the sense that when they were in with us, that was it. There was no giving back, I suppose, to the clubs in the respect that because we could manage them a bit more, and obviously we were collecting data on them, Sean, and we could be sure from an injury prevention point of thing, like it was very technical, I suppose, when you're inside that camp. And then we did release them back to the clubs in year one, and I did learn from that, I suppose, because as soon as we released them back, the all majority come back injured, and they don't get the same level of, I suppose. I'm only speaking specifically about
Yeah.
ladies team involved, and not with any men's team, I suppose. But you get back, a lot of them go back injured, and you have to deal with that then. So there is a give and take. Like I know that, currently, I suppose getting away from this slightly off topic, Monaghan are going through a phase now of changing the structures inside to allow county players play a wee bit more, especially league football in Monaghan as well. So that's a proposal there to look at. But it's a fine balance, and you have to think of the player. Top of the agenda is the player, and not to burn them out because they are being pulled, especially the lads that are college. They're being pulled left, right, and centre.
They are, and it's interesting you said that there'll be the star games to talk about where you play particularly at the league level without your county players. I don't know the structures in Roscommon, would that be similar, or how do they work that with county players being available for club games in the earlier part of the year?
To be honest, they wouldn't really play too many league games. I think the Roscommon Championship starts first weekend of August, so it'd be the week after the All Ireland. I think is Monaghan is slightly later than that.
That's it. Yeah, it's near enough same. Yeah.
Yeah, so like generally they don't get to play too many league games. Again, it all depends. Unfortunately, when Roscommon get knocked out of the championship as well. If we're out early, they might get one or two in. But it's getting that right balance. I think the lads themselves, they love playing with their clubs. They love playing with their county. And anyone will tell you who's in college, they love playing the Sigerson Cup. So they love playing the games. It's just getting them, again, not to burn them out and not put too much on them. Because like even you're playing now with at the moment, the pitches are heavy. Depending on what pitch you're on, they can be heavy if you're training on. So it's just looking at after players as well. And look, it'll be interesting. And the problem, I think Gabriel Bannigan, the Monaghan manager, and Mark Dowd, the new Roscommon manager, will have, they're looking at their players here, and we're on about half the team being, a county representation. They want them for Division 1 campaigns and to try and keep them up. They're both newly promoted. They want to stay at Division 1. So whoever loses this game, it's kind of say, how long do you give them off? Do you give them a couple of weeks? Do you give them a month to reset? Whoever gets one of these teams will be in the All-Ireland final, and then, it's pushed down another few weeks. So it's kind of just getting the right balance. And I think maybe a couple of years ago when Brigid were in the All-Ireland, maybe Roscommon didn't get that. We may have rushed a couple of players in. For instance, Ben O'Carroll was carrying a knock. We brought him back in. Then he was having knocks for the rest of the year, and he was actually no good to Roscommon. He actually was injured by the end of it. So it's kind of making sure you mind each specific player, because again, you don't want burnout and them picking up knocks, throughout the year. But it is a lot of games to be playing.
Absolutely, yes, that game management. So, lads, we'll go back. 4th of January, looking forward to it, Kieran. Kingspan Breffni, brilliant setting for it. Whenever we knew the draw, and I said there's only one place I thought this game could be, and I'm delighted they chosen there, because it's a cauldron. It's such a wonderful venue for this. How we called it, obviously, I know it's heart on sleeve, and you can't see past Scotstown, can you?
Well, to be fair, when you're calling a game like this, you have to know the opposition too. And I don't know them in depth. I've done a bit on them, obviously, to get ready, suppose, Sean. But like they're an outstanding team. St. Brigid's, they've got that experience of 23. They've come through a hard championship, and they have a threat up inside. And I suppose with sending back there too, he offers another threat as well to them. I just feel that Lady Luck and something deep down inside me is calling this from Scotstown, only purely on the basis that I've watched Scotstown from the quarter final of the championship, and I've seen them improve game on game on game and come through them 3 hardened battles will definitely stand to them. And yes, there'll be that wee bit sharper, I suspect, too, than St. Brigid's early doors, because of the less time they had to, suppose, relax over the Christmas period. That the difference, the length of time between the two respective finals. For me, they just have that hunger, Sean. I've been talking about the hunger about Scotstown all year, the desire, and it was that hunger and desire to win the Ulster Championship. I just hope to continue that on. And for me, if they continue that on, it should be enough to get them over the line.
Yeah, and that hunger and desire was to win a provincial title, and they've done that. Darragh, St. Brigid's, and I'm not saying they didn't have to travel a hard road to win their provincial competition, but they've been there more often in recent years. You've noted they've been there to an All-Ireland final. They've been stunned by losing that one to Glen. They've tasted success back in 2013 as well. That's a bag full of experience to have at this level of the competition.
Absolutely, and it is a mixed bag, because Senan Kilbride, for instance, was on that 2013 team. He's the only starter. I'm just assuming he will start. So he has the know-how of winning an All-Ireland, whereas the vast majority of the others were a part of that 23 team that lost an All-Ireland. And as I said at the start, I think it did sting them. That was a hard one to take. I think they knew they were the better team in that game. Of course, look, Glen, whoever wins will always say they're the better team. But I think for the vast majority of that game, Brigid played a perfect game. They were big outsiders going into that as well. Glen were highly fancy. They had taken out Kilmacud Crokes and ran about odds. I think Brigid were 3-1 outsiders. Like, they were big outsiders in that game, and they know they probably should have seen that game out. So I think they've used that hurt. They wouldn't have been looking past Roscommon, and maybe that's what caught them out last year. Like, Pearce's bet them in a quarterfinal last year. Maybe they were just looking too far ahead in terms of Connacht and All-Ireland getting back there. It's very hard to get back to an All-Ireland club final. It's very, very hard, and that's been proven. So I think they'll be grasping this opportunity. We're back where we want to be, All-Ireland semi-final. As I said, it's a very 50-50 game, but I think Brigid's just that bit of know-how. I think they'll be fixated on this All-Ireland, and I think they'll just get over the line by a couple of points.
Wow, so there you go. Listen, we're really looking forward to it. As we noted, the 4th of January, 3 p.m, Kingspan Breffni. It's where any club player wants to be, an All-Ireland semi-final. It's Scotstown taking on St. Brigid's, and of course we'll have full live commentary. You'll have Willie Hegarty well wound up for that one, I take it, Darragh.
Yeah. Well, I'd say he's ready to go. He's always ready. And there'll be a few analogies about buy one get one frees and sandwiches and all that, I'm sure. So he'll be ready.
I can just imagine him maybe even over Christmas just bounding about. You know, he would have wanted just to skip Christmas and be jumping into this one. And I'm no different, Kieran. I know you're going to be there alongside Fergal as well. We're not going to break up that dream team. That might be the charm that's seen this Scotstown team too. But it's something really to look forward to, isn't it? We had Christmas. You look forward to that. We have the New Year. We're looking forward to that. And then we had this big occasion.
Yeah, I was it Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, was Scotstown the only Monaghan team ever to win or get to an All-Ireland final, 79 or something like that? I'm not just
79, yeah.
79, yes.
79, yeah.
Only one Monaghan team has ever reached the promised land of a club final, and I have no doubt these boys know the history of that, and that whilst they've got that video of the Ulster final of them, they have the history on their shoulders, and it's a proud club, and I have a feeling, a just deep gut feeling down below, Sean. I don't know what you call it, but I have a feeling they're going to get over the line on January the 4th. I really, really do.
I'm beginning to show and feel me age here. Kieran, you were hardly about in 79 in Croke
No,
Park, right?
it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
I was there. There was snow. I can remember going up through RD and the snowplows had pushed the snow in on the bends coming down RD.
I wasn't even a thought at that stage.
So there you are. Well, it's one of the first trips I can remember to Croke Park, and I'm hoping that the club can do it again and get us back there. But listen, we have to extend our best wishes to St. Brigid's as well. And Darragh, obviously, were you there in those more recent times? Were you there for the Glen game? You've had the experience. Maybe you've been there.
Yeah, I was there 23. And again, I have no links. Like, Bridges are about half an hour away from me, so I'll just say that I have no links to St. Bridges. I want to see Roscommon teams do well, and it only benefits the county team. I know we're on about, they may be missing a few league games, but you want to see your teams doing well. And I'll give a mention to Scotstown as well. They're in the All Ireland Intermediate semi-final as well. So it's good to see, your club teams doing well in the, the provincial series, and obviously then get through to the All Ireland series. So I was there at 23. I was there in 2013 when they bet Ballymun. Frankie Dolan kicked a last minute winner in that. So yeah, I've seen a bit of Bridges over the years. They're a great team. They represent Roscommon well. So as I said, no offense, lads. I'll be on the Roscommon side, but in saying that, it is great that a Monaghan or Roscommon team will be there on All Ireland Club Final Day. Because I said the other semi final is a Dublin v Kerry game. Bowden against Dingle, and Dingle, for instance, it's great for them. They're not there obviously too often. So but bit of novelty. So to get from Monaghan or Roscommon team, we'll look at the positive there. One county be happy at the very least.
Absolutely, from a Shannonside Northern Sound perspective. My thanks to Darragh O'Connor there from the Rossie podcast for jumping across and joining us here. My thanks as always to Kieran. I think I could take an opportunity to wish you all a happy new year. And more importantly, we're looking forward to that one. I did note to you full live commentary of that game coming your way. And we will have Willie Hegarty for the Shannonside listeners. We will have Fergal for the Northern Sound listeners, obviously alongside Kieran. I think Nigel Deneen maybe normally sits in, I think.
He's usually there, yeah.
He's usually there. Looking forward to that one. An opportunity maybe just to thank you as well for tuning into our podcast for the past year. We started off in the middle part of the year with this, and it's been fantastic. We've plenty more to come in the new year to you, but enjoy the festivities, enjoy the actions coming your way, and don't forget, you can always check out any of the podcast series with the Rossie podcast and the Monaghan Way podcast on any of the platforms that you pick them up on.